Would you like to live longer and still live with lightness, clarity, and presence? Maybe this video will change the way you see the passage of time. Because there are habits, simple, silent ones, that ensure real longevity. And the people who live the longest in the world don't rush, don't overdo it, don't hurry. They simply care for each gesture as one tends a garden. With patience, with attention, with soul. Imagine waking up at 90 with a flexible body, calm breath, and a serene heart. As if life had been a river, not a race. If that image touched something in you, like this video, and send it to someone who also wants to move through the years with dignity, gentleness, and health. What are blue zones? Sometimes all we want is to grow old without fear. But how do you do that in a world that values speed, excess, and noise? There is a place where this happens naturally, where people live past 100 with clarity, balance, and affection. It's not about miraculous genetics, but a way of being. In Okinawa, Japan, time doesn't weigh, it flows. And in that flow, a silent secret is born: the blue zones. Regions of the world where longevity is not an exception. It's the norm. And it all starts with how these people live and feel. You wake up early, walk to the garden. The silence is light. The sun is gentle. Breakfast is colourful and calm. Around you, no one speaks loudly. No one runs. There's a delicacy in gestures, a respect for time and for the body. The routine is almost a moving meditation. In places like Okinawa, well-being in old age is not a privilege. It's a consequence. Longevity doesn't come from effort. It sprouts from harmony between body, mind, and space. A way of living that gently nurtures all the senses. But there is one detail that changes everything. These people don't live longer because they fear death. They live longer because they don't run from life. Every meal is a pause. Every encounter is presence. Every gesture has meaning, and that transforms the body from within. Cardiologist Dr. Ellsworth Wareham observed this closely. The absence of chronic stress, the simplicity of their diet, the value of human connections. Blue zones are not just a place on the map. They are a state of being, where the inner rhythm finally finds nature's pace. Imagine your body as a fertile field. The way you live and feel is the water that nourishes it. In places like Okinawa, that water is clear, made of simple rituals, living food, welcoming silence. What few realise is that true longevity is not built with supplements or devices. It is born in the breath between conversations, in the silence after tea, in the unhurried walk to the market. These are small gestures, but constant. And that is what transforms biology with gentleness and consistency. There is a word in Japanese, ikigai. It means reason for living. In blue zones, everyone has one, and it has nothing to do with great achievements. Sometimes it's tending the garden, cooking lunch for the grandchildren, or simply walking to the beach at sunset. That's what sustains the heart, protects the brain, calms the hormones. Having a purpose, something that gently pulls you forward, something that reminds you every day why it's still worth getting up. And this invisible thread is one of the greatest secrets to living longer and better. Science now confirms what these cultures have always known. The way we live shapes the way we age. And the most impressive thing is that all of this can be learned. There is nothing inaccessible, nothing that depends on a distant geography. What exists is a choice: to slow down, to look inward, to nourish yourself with intention, to live with presence. In blue zones, the extraordinary lies in the ordinary, in the simple plate, in the slow conversation, in the body that dances instead of fights. All of this teaches that longevity is not a straight line. It's a spiral, a return to essence. But this leads us to something even deeper, because maybe the real secret isn't in what they do, but in what they no longer do. They don't pressure themselves to look young. They don't accumulate what they don't need. They don't fill the silence with distractions. They let life be light, even as it ages. And in that lightness lives the strength that sustains 100 years of existence, as if time there is not an enemy, but a serene ally, simply keeping company. If you feel like that landscape belongs to you, even without ever having been there, maybe your body is telling you something, that you too can move away from excess, from hurry, from guilt. That longevity is not just a statistic. It's a choice renewed every day, that your well-being in old age can begin now, right where you are, with a small gesture, a lighter meal, a slower step, like a seed planted in silence. That one day will be a tree and shade. Okinawa diet. You sit at a wooden table, the sun slipping gently through the window. On your plate, no signs of rush. Just steamed greens, purple sweet potato, fermented soy, seaweed. Each colour whispers care. In Okinawa, food isn't just nourishment. It's memory. It's ritual. Meals are taken slowly, shared, respected. There is no guilt, no excess. Just enough. This is the rhythm that feeds one of the longest living populations in the world. A tradition so gentle it feels like a lullaby for the body, softening inflammation, easing digestion, and inviting the heart to beat a little longer and lighter. But there's something deeper that makes this diet so healing. The Okinawan principle of hara hachibu. Eat until you are 80% full. It's not a restriction, it's respect. A pause before excess. An act of listening. In a world that teaches us to consume until we're numb, this one habit reawakens our connection with hunger and with peace. When the body no longer needs to fight against itself, energy returns, inflammation fades, and the silence of true well-being finally settles in, not as a miracle, but as a daily, loving decision. What few people notice is that this food is not just light. It is alive, rich in antioxidants, but also in stories. These ingredients were chosen across generations, not by trends or marketing, but by the hands of mothers and grandmothers who observed with care. Turmeric to soften the joints, bitter melon to calm the blood, seaweed to nourish the thyroid. The wisdom is ancient, umkoiten, and still breathing. The Japan of the zones of longevity is not powered by novelty, but by trust in what has always worked, and it continues to nourish, without needing to impress. Imagine your plate as a garden, each bite a seed. In the Okinawan diet, there is no war between taste and health. There is colour. There is simplicity. There is balance. No heavy sauces, no processed layers. Just food the body recognises. Food that comes from the earth and returns to it. It's not about eating perfectly. It's about eating with presence. This subtle shift changes everything. Because when the body is no longer under assault, it remembers how to repair. It remembers how to rest, and it begins to age in a new rhythm. Slower, wiser, kinder. And here lies the mistake we often make. Thinking that a small indulgence late at night is harmless. A piece of cake, a sip of wine, a snack during the news. It feels like comfort, but it's stimulation disguised as rest. Especially after 60, the body becomes more sensitive to what it receives. That sugar? It may rob you of your deep sleep. That habit? It might be why your mornings feel heavy. The Okinawan elders don't end their days with noise. They end it with tea. Warm, quiet, calming tea. This is how you prepare to live longer. In these meals, there's no ambition, no obsession with protein or low carbs, no counting, no extremes, just harmony. A way of eating that is less about restriction and more about rhythm. There's a natural gratitude in the slowness of it all. Before eating, they say, "Itadakimasu," I humbly receive. And this one phrase reconnects the act of eating with the soul, because eating in Okinawa is not escape. It is communion. It is peace in every spoonful. And that peace, it seeps into the bloodstream. It protects the cells. It becomes part of who you are. But there's something even more intimate here. This food is not consumed alone. Meals are moments of presence with others, talking, laughing, sharing. This social nourishment, this emotional connection, amplifies the effect of every bite. Laughter aids digestion. Affection lowers blood pressure. Love, quite literally, feeds longevity. Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, who lived past 100, often spoke of this silent medicine. Community. You are not just what you eat. You are also who you eat with. And the Okinawan table? It's a circle. It welcomes. It holds, it heals. And maybe, just maybe, the diet isn't the cure. It's the invitation. The invitation to live with more lightness. To remember that what you place on your plate also shapes your days. That food is not the enemy. It's the bridge. The bridge between your now and your future. And the gentler the step, the longer the journey. If this vision stirred something inside you, perhaps your healing doesn't begin with what you remove, but with what you return to. Real food, shared moments, slow eating, the kind of care that doesn't promise miracles, only presence. Minimalist lifestyle. There is a silence that only simplicity can bring. A kind of quiet that doesn't come from the absence of noise, but from the absence of excess. In Okinawa, homes are small, uncluttered, and filled with light. Not because they lack, but because they choose. What remains is intentional, useful, meaningful. And this space, this breathing room, becomes medicine. A medicine for the eyes, for the nervous system, for the soul. In these homes, stress doesn't have many places to hide. And in this calm, the body slows down. The mind exhales. The years stretch. Softly. You open a drawer. It's not overflowing. You walk across the room. Your feet meet the floor. Not piles of things. You eat with one bowl, drink from one cup. The simplicity doesn't feel restrictive. It feels liberating. In the zones of longevity, like Okinawa, less isn't about deprivation. It's about restoration. Dr. Ellsworth Wareham observed this truth. The less stimulation around you, the more peace within. The less you chase, the more you return. Minimalism here is not a trend. It is a quiet return to clarity, to the rhythm of what really matters. But what few realise is how much energy is drained by our attachments. The drawer that won't close, the closet full of clothes we no longer wear, the notifications we never read. We think we're managing, but we're leaking life, constantly. In Okinawa, there's a quiet refusal to let these small drains multiply. Instead, they preserve energy like it's sacred. A small home is easier to clean. Fewer belongings mean fewer distractions. The body relaxes when the environment isn't asking too much. And in this relaxation, healing begins. Gently, without pressure. Now imagine your life like a cup of tea. If it's already full of noise, clutter, expectation, where will the warmth settle? Where will peace land? In the minimalist lifestyle of Okinawa, there's always space left for quiet, for rest, for noticing. They don't schedule self-care. They live it. A walk, a nap, a silent stare through the window. These aren't luxuries, they are daily practices. And with each small act, the nervous system learns safety. The heart beats slower. The breath deepens. The years unfold. Not as a burden, but as a gentle song. But this takes us to a quiet danger. One that hides in plain sight. The idea that we must always be available. Always responding. Always present online. This seems normal, but it's exhausting. Constant connection is not connection. It's fragmentation. In the zones of longevity, there is no urgency in replies, no pressure to be everywhere. Saying no is natural. Being unreachable is allowed. and this invisible boundary becomes a source of health. You are not meant to be a signal, buzzing day and night. You are meant to be a being. And beings need stillness. They say in Okinawa, everything has a place. A dish for rice, a shelf for the cup, a time for walking, a rhythm for rising. This order is not rigid. It's tender. It gives the day a soft spine, a way to move without friction. And that movement, in its grace, teaches the body how to age gently. You don't need more to feel safe. You need coherence, harmony, a home that doesn't drain, a life that doesn't clutter your breath. In that space, the body rests, the mind quiets, and the soul grows luminous. What few understand is that the real gift of minimalism isn't the empty shelf. It's the full breath. It's the presence that returns when nothing else is stealing it. When your room is still, when your day has gaps, when your phone is off, suddenly life becomes touchable again. You can hear your own thoughts, you can feel your body. You can sense the sunset, not just see it. And these small sensations, these sacred noticings, become the threads of a life well lived. They are soft but unbreakable. They are the roots of real longevity. So if this stirred something in you, begin small. Open one drawer, let go of one thing, turn off one notification, light one candle, and breathe. The minimalist life isn't about aesthetics. It's about return. Return to what matters. Return to what sustains. And in that return, you might just find the years slowing down. Not because you're trying, but because you're no longer fighting time. You're welcoming it. You're living with it. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you're truly home. Core foods and preparation. There is something sacred about the way food is prepared in Okinawa. Not rushed, not loud. It begins with quiet hands, familiar tools, and ingredients that still carry the scent of earth and sea. The sweet potatoes, deep purple like twilight. The greens, vibrant and bitter. The tofu, soft as silence. These are not fancy meals, they are foundations. The base of a diet that has quietly carried people past their 100th year. Not through extremes, but through rhythm. Food that knows the body, that speaks its language, that enters like a guest, not an invader. What few understand is that the core foods of Okinawa are not chosen for taste alone. They are chosen for harmony, for their ability to nourish without burdening. Seaweed, with its minerals and iodine, supports the thyroid. Bitter melon cools the blood and eases sugar spikes. Miso balances the gut. Turmeric reduces hidden fires in the joints. These are not trends, they are time-tested companions. And when they come together in a bowl, they do more than feed. They restore, slowly, surely. Like waves smoothing a stone. A quiet recalibration, one meal at a time. You watch an elder prepare her lunch. She cuts with care. She hums. There is no rush, only rhythm. Her pot simmers. Not to impress, but to infuse. She stirs with a wooden spoon, tasting as she goes. The food is light, but satisfying. And when she eats, she sits in silence. No screens, no distractions, just presence. In these moments, digestion begins before the first bite. The body receives not only nutrients, but intention. And intention, when practiced over time, becomes medicine. This is not a diet. It's a dialogue between you, the earth, and your inner stillness. Imagine a kitchen where there is no clutter, only tools that serve, where meals take time but don't feel like work, where boiling water is a ritual, not a task. In Okinawan households, food preparation is not a chore. It's a grounding, a way to connect, a way to slow down, to return. The act of washing rice, the slicing of daikon, the careful folding of greens, these are all forms of self-respect. And the more the body feels respected, the more it relaxes. And in that relaxation, it remembers how to thrive. What few people see is that much of our suffering comes from how we prepare. Not just what we eat. The microwave, the rush, the standing up while chewing. These small acts, repeated daily, signal to the body that life is chaotic. That nourishment must be hurried. And this confusion turns into inflammation, tension, fatigue. But when we pause, when we boil a root, steam a leaf, slice with care, the body listens. It softens. It thanks us. And that softening, that's where true digestion of food and of life begins. They say in Okinawa, the knife is never dull because it is respected, sharpened, cared for, like the body itself. The pan is never coated in chemicals, the oil never reused. There's a purity in the preparation that mirrors their approach to aging. Nothing artificial, nothing excessive, just what is needed. This kind of food doesn't shock, it harmonizes, it doesn't sedate, it supports. And in that harmony, the immune system recalibrates, the heart rate settles, and the skin begins to glow. Not from products, but from peace. A peace that's been cooked in. But here's the quiet truth. The power is not in one ingredient. It's in the consistency, the repetition, the daily decision to treat the body with reverence. The Okinawan table doesn't offer miracles. It offers meals, again and again, gentle, balanced, real. This is why Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, who understood the biology of aging, often pointed to lifestyle, not medication, as the true key. And food, when prepared with care, becomes the most honest form of prevention. Because it's not a pill, it's a practice of remembering your worth. So if something in this moved you, begin today. Cut a vegetable slowly. Choose one food from the earth. Light a candle while you eat. Turn off the TV. Let the act of feeding yourself become sacred again. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just real. Just yours. Because longevity isn't about numbers. It's about moments. And every mindful meal is a moment of return. To health. To home. To the quiet truth that your body wants to stay, if you show it that it's welcome. How to apply this in the West? You wake up not in Okinawa, but in a city where mornings start with alarms, screens and rush. The fridge hums, the calendar blinks. The pace is different here, but the need for calm, for nourishment, for gentle rhythm, it's the same. The good news is you don't need to move to a blue zone to live like one. The spirit of Okinawa, of Dr. Ellsworth Wareham's calm wisdom, can be planted right where you are. It starts not with change, but with noticing. What can be softened? What can be slowed? What can be let go? Maybe it's how you begin your day. Instead of coffee and headlines, you sit. You breathe. You drink warm water. You greet your body before the world enters. That alone is a shift. A ritual. A reclaiming of presence. You don't need seaweed from Japan or Okinawan sweet potatoes. You need foods that grow near you, that feel alive, not processed. You need meals that are cooked slowly, eaten quietly, digested fully. And in this gentle repetition, your biology begins to respond, not as an experiment, but as a homecoming. What few understand is that the Western lifestyle isn't the problem. It's how we carry it. The meals at the desk, the endless scrolling, the tight schedules. These things aren't evil, but they accumulate. And that accumulation becomes inflammation, becomes fatigue, becomes disconnection. You don't have to renounce your life. You only need to punctuate it with moments of return. A walk at sunset, a quiet lunch, a slower breath before reacting. These are micro Okinawas, little blue zones we create inside ourselves. But here comes the resistance. I don't have time. My family won't change. It's just how things are. These voices sound logical, but they are echoes of burnout. Voices that learn to survive, not to live. And the truth is, you don't need anyone to change with you. You just need to begin. Begin with one thing. Maybe dinner with the phone turned off. Maybe tea before bed. Maybe silence while cooking. And from that one thing comes another. Like water, this lifestyle flows into the cracks of modern life. Quiet, persistent, healing. You see, the West doesn't lack wisdom, It often lacks space. And what Okinawa teaches is not more information. It's more room. Room to feel hunger, room to feel satisfaction, room to feel tiredness and respond with rest, not stimulation. Even in the middle of a city, you can protect your peace. You can walk slower, eat smaller, talk softer. These are not cultural imports. They are biological truths. The body does not forget what harmony feels like. It only waits to be reminded. What few people realize is that longevity is not reserved for monks or villagers. It belongs to anyone who chooses gentleness over speed, intention over impulse, connection over consumption. You don't need the perfect setup. You need repetition, compassion, curiosity. You need to listen again to your rhythms, your energy, your limits. And when you do, the body shifts, not overnight, but inevitably, as if it's been waiting for you all along. Perhaps the most powerful practice you can adopt is to let food become sacred again. Light a candle at dinner. Bless your plate in silence. Eat with someone you love, or eat alone, but with presence. Let the meal end without distraction. Let your body speak. These are rituals that cost nothing, but give everything, because they bring you back to your breath, to your body, to yourself. And that return, that's the real start of longevity. So if this message stirred something in you, don't wait for the perfect conditions. Start with where you are, with what you have, with one habit that softens the day. The Japanese don't live longer because they do everything differently. They live longer because they honour what truly matters. And that you can do too, right here, right now, with one quiet breath, one real meal, one less rush. And maybe a life that feels like it belongs to you again. And then you realise something. It was never about adding more to your life. Not more supplements. Not more steps, not more tasks to chase health. It was always about softening. About letting go of the noise you thought was necessary. Because the body doesn't heal in urgency. The heart doesn't feel safe in performance. And the years don't stretch when you live in the defence. The truth is quiet. Almost too quiet for a world like ours. Longevity doesn't begin in what you do. It begins in how you are when no one is watching. It begins in a bite taken slowly. In a silence you no longer fill. In a routine that feels like a prayer, not a punishment. The Japanese elders of Okinawa don't live long because they fear death. They live long because they've made peace with life. They don't fight the years. They listen to them. And when you start listening too, your body responds. Not with a miracle, but with rest, with clarity, with softness that rebuilds everything from the inside. No one will see it at first, but one day you'll feel it. In your breath, in your steps, in the mornings that no longer begin in tension. And maybe that's the final truth. You don't need to run to live longer. You need to return. Return to yourself. Return to silence. Return to what was always here, waiting. And then, everything makes sense. Sometimes what you need isn't more effort. It's less friction, less noise around your meals, less weight in your routine, less distance between you and your own breath. To live long, truly long here. Live well. To live from a place that respects the body, honours the day, and chooses presence over performance. The habits of the Japanese elders. Their simplicity, their food, their pace. They are not luxuries, they are choices, and they are available to you too. You don't need to live in Okinawa, you only need to bring Okinawa into your day. One act at a time. Maybe today that act is choosing water instead of something that drains, or turning off the TV during dinner, or simply asking yourself, what would feel nourishing now? Because each time you choose calm, you build longevity, not just in years but in depth, in joy, in dignity. So tonight, before you sleep, whisper to yourself, I choose peace, even in the smallest things. And if this message touched a part of you that's been waiting, share it with someone who deserves to live softer too. Let me know in the comments. What small habit will you begin today to return to your own rhythm? And if this resonated, watch the video above. It might be the piece that completes what we started here. Now the path is yours. Walk it slowly, live it gently, let it stretch as far as your breath allows.